Welcome back, Beans Army, to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast, the college offseason podcast, where we are less of the regular season, but more of the offseason. And when I say offseason, I mean it because today we are doing the annual cap or no cap episode. This time for college basketball. 2025-2026 season, not kind of long ago. Before football, we did the cap or no cap episode of the football season coming up. Now we're doing the college basketball season because we are almost near to that time. I know teams are having their kind of scrimmages and like Big Blue Madness and stuff like that's going to be coming up. So college basketball season is almost here. It's exciting because I am a Louisville fan, and we actually have something to look forward to this season. So, Matt and I will be hosting, which is kind of unusual, but it's fun. So, Matt and Les have their hats ready. I know Matt has some newer hats, like he's been saying, so maybe he'll bust them out this podcast. But so we have 10 questions ready, and let me pull them up and it's going to be a fun one. Do you all have anything to say before we start this cap or no cap annual thing?
I'm gonna start by saying this. If y'all are gonna try to make a joke on me about Duke's head coach stepping down, y'all might want to make sure I didn't check my notifications first. In case you missed it, in the group chat earlier this week, when John Shire signed his extension through the 2030-2031 season, Matt and Ryan both messaged the group chat saying, John Shire is stepping down. And literally, what saved me from getting my blood pressure through astronomical levels is the fact that I had already seen the notification that he had signed the extension. So that is why my name is Y'all Tried, but y'all forget I am the Duke fan on this podcast. You ain't gonna get nothing past me here.
I love how he says y'all might have missed it when it's a group chat that just has the three of us in it. Like, I hope they would miss it. I really hope the audience doesn't have that big of a parasocial relationship with us.
Well, given certain things that have happened in the real world, you just never know.
That was cryptic and creepy, and now let's talk about basketball because I'm weirded out and now he's doing stupid things with his eyebrows. All right.
Yeah, I
Ryan,
had
please start the first question before things get really bad.
well, I had to get Les's blood pumping. Obviously, I knew it wouldn't work just because he wouldn't believe that he would just step down out of random
I
even.
mean, in a world where like Andrew Luck retires out of nowhere, I mean, nothing really surprises you anymore.
Andrew Luck retires. Darius Leonard's back is destroyed after 4 years. It's tough being a Colts fan, man.
But Indiana Jones has given us something to look forward to.
Yep,
Just beat the
he
Raiders.
is.
And of course, my favorite player on the team, Jonathan Taylor, is back to looking like one of the best running backs in the NFL.
He is
Top
back.
two and maybe not two.
All right, Les. All right, but before we get too much into the NFL, we got to talk about basketball.
That's
No.
right. We are a college offseason podcast. We are not an NFL podcast.
What was I gonna say? And I just for any of you listeners that are kind of new, obviously cap means that they would not agree with the statement that we say, and no cap would mean that they do agree. Before we start, Les, I have a question real quick. Will Duke get over the line that Cooper Flag kept tripping on?
Ooh, I love it,
Well,
Ryan.
from what I've seen so far, Cameron's footwork's a little bit better than Cooper's was at this time last year, so I think we're going to be good in that regard.
Um, Shout out my dad. He wanted me to say that. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh gosh, Ryan, come up with your
Great
own
joke.
jokes. Don't rely on
I
Allen
know
the
I
whole
could have.
time.
I could have. And but all right, well, I'm gonna start with you, Les, just because I kept picking on you. So starting with the number one, Florida will repeat as national champions, cap or no cap.
Yeah, I'm going to start off with a cap on this one, rocking the Blue Mountain State hat, starting out strong. When I look at Florida's team last year, yes, they had a lot of key pieces all around, but the main engine that drove the Gators to win the Natty was Walter Clayton being able to flip a switch and basically go into nuclear mode in clutch situations. He was a special player during the tournament run, and now he's gone. Yes, they added some guards in the portal like Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan, who are good players, but I'm not confident that they can replicate that level of performance. And I'm going to tell the non-ball knowers out there that are excited about Oliver Rio, don't be. If he plays more than 10 minutes per game because of his lack of mobility and being able to step out and defend the perimeter, I'll be shocked. So that's why I got a cap that Florida's going to repeat as national champions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Ryan.
No, you can go ahead. I'm just since I'm the host, I'm gonna or like since I'll give you all the floor, I'll just say real quick things like in response. But yeah, you can go ahead, Matt. I'll say my stuff after.
Yeah, sorry, Ryan.
No,
I'm going
you.
to agree with Les here, and I'm going to say that that is cap. I wear a hat for everyone because I like my hat, so I made signs. But I'm going to agree with Les that that is cap. It's a lot basically like what Les said. I mean, it's very rare that you hear people talk about a team that lost a guy like Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin
Yeah.
getting better in the offseason. And I think Xavier Lee and Boogie Flan are very good players, obviously. I mean, they performed at a high level before. They're returning two starters and Thomas Ho, who was a bench player. I mean, and I don't even see Ryu on any of like these actual real depth charts. Like Les said, the people who know that this is like he's a depth piece. He is not a starter. He's a depth piece.
He is a PR. He is a PR attempt.
He's a PR piece. He's just there to make Purdue mad. Is what I guess what I'm going to say. But really, it feels like we've been talking about this and we just had a repeat champion. But honest to God, when I look around the college basketball landscape, and this is not to diss Florida, this is not to diss Golden, this is not to diss anybody associated with that program because they're going to be very good. I just don't see a repeat happening this year. The vibes are just not there. And sometimes you can't explain something with statistics. You just feel the vibes. And the vibes are just not there for me. There are a lot of other very top heavy, very good squads out there that we're going to talk about. And while I don't think Florida is going to implode and we're going to be like, look at Florida, I just don't think this is the year for a team that's even a team that's improved or maintained its star level. I just don't think this is the year for a repeat champion.
Yeah, I would agree. I will say one real quick thing before we get into the next thing. I saw a TikTok video of someone playing 2K against Janai Broom, and he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do you like Walter Clayton did," and so that I thought that was funny in the tournament. But all right, on to the next one. I'll start with Matt. Go back. We'll just kind of flip flop, so no one has to go first twice, But or back to back meaning. Purdue is the best or is the team to beat in the Big Ten, cap or no cap, Matt.
That is, and it pains me to say it, that's no cap at all. I mean, that is no cap at all to me. I know Michigan has a very good team. I know there are lots of good teams in the Big Ten. We'll probably talk about more of them going forward. But when I look at the Big Ten and I look at Purdue, I see a team that's returning a lot of its veteran star power. And more importantly, I see a team that's got a hunger to it. Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. This is probably the last. I don't know how eligibility works anymore. I'm going to be honest. But it feels like this is the last hurrah. And you look at these two guys in Smith and Lawyer who have led this team through the greatest upset in NCAA tournament history when they get beat by Fairleigh Dickinson. You see them make it all the way to the championship game. You see and lose to a juggernaut of a UConn team. You see all the questions last year about whether or not they're going to be successful without Zach Edey. They silence those doubters. They don't make it as far though. They cap out in the Sweet 16. But I see guys who realize this is the last hurrah. This offseason, there was a lot of fire around Braden Smith. Some people thought, and those people were definitely none on this podcast. Like, I don't know who was saying it, but definitely wasn't me. Some people thought Braden Smith was gone to the Wildcats of Kentucky because of that NIL stuff. Some people thought that there was some fire there. I mean, Purdue did lose some guys, but they're returning four starters from a very good team. They've added in Oscar Clough from San Diego State. I think that guy, he may not be 7'4", but he's the perfect player for Purdue in this situation. And unlike, Oliver Ryu, I think Daniel Jacobson coming off an injury will play a little bit. They've got some depth to play with. Raleigh Burgess is good. Omar Meyer is good. They've even got some really good extended depth pieces and a guy who I've had the pleasure of watching a couple times, Brownstown Central's own Jack Benter. He's a guy who's a pure scorer. Really enjoyed watching him play. I mean, I think that so Purdue's got the narrative, they've got the veteran leaders, and they've got some depth to play with, and I think that's a very good combo in a very tough Big Ten, where there are a lot of teams that have retooled, a lot of teams that are relying heavily on some him back transfers. Purdue has continuity and depth, and most importantly to me, and once again, we're supposed to be analytical, but I'm going on vibes here. They know that this is their final chance to cement their legacy after 4 up and down years and finally deliver that championship to West Lafayette. And that to me is the big difference maker here.
Now on to less. Purdue is the team to beat in the Big Ten cap and no cap.
Oh, I'm really hoping that me and Matt just don't agree the entire show. But I got to agree with him here on this one. It's no cap. I mean, they're the preseason #1 team in the country, and, rightfully so. On paper, they have one of, if not the best backcourt in the country, like the players Matt mentioned, and Player of the Year candidate Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. But also, they land an international bucket getter and Omer Mayer, who averaged over 20 points per game in the FIBA under-19s this summer. And then, of course, their front court looks good as well. Trey Kaufman-Renn, haven't talked about him yet. Matt mentioned Oscar Clough, but I will say Daniel Jacobson, he also played in the FIBA under-19s and he does look healthy. So his shot blocking presence is just going to add another dimension. But yeah, it's hard to argue against Purdue. My only question about them is, are their guards going to be able to defend the perimeter without having to rely on forcing the ball handler into the shot blocker's, presence?
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with you all that Purdue is the team to beat. They're gonna look really good. But there's two teams that we have already talked about, and that is well, I've talked about Louisville. We talked about Duke, and that leads us to the next one. I'll start with you, Les, going back to you. Louisville will overtake Duke for the ACC crown, cap or no cap.
You already know what I'm gonna say, Ryan. It's absolute cap. And watching Countdown to Craziness last night, I'm nothing has done nothing to change that mind at all. And Louisville will be very good. I will start with that. But make no mistake, Duke is the team to beat in the ACC. And I've only said this about a million times on the show. It's quite the luxury to go from a player like Cooper Flagg to a Cameron Boozer, but mainly the fact that Duke has 5 key returners from last season and several who could have a bigger role and flourish in year 2, like an Isaiah Evans, like a Patrick Ngamba. There's a lot to like about this team. They'll be different from last year's team, but in some ways, I think they could be better than last year's team.
And Gongba. It's what whatever his name was last year with
Hey,
C.
first of all, watch your mouth. It's Man Man or Come On Malawatch. That'll have both me and Matt triggered if you're not
You love
careful.
me some man man.
Matt
That is
loves Man Man. You know that picture of like the girl holding like the kid and the kid's like pointing at somebody? That is Matt with Come On Malawatch.
he's just so naturally funny. I love that guy.
Yeah,
But
we all love Man Man. If you don't like Man Man, there's just something wrong with your soul. You don't have to like Duke, but you at least gotta love Man Man.
hey
Yeah.
Brian,
But
you know what time
what?
you know what time it is?
9:43.
No, it's time to piss less
9:44
off.
actually.
Yeah, yeah,
No
hold on.
cap. No cap. Give me the
Let's
Cardinals.
go.
Oh,
No
Let's
cap, man.
go.
I
I was
got
about
to
to say, I
admit,
hope you agree with me. Yeah, I hope you're on my side this time, and you are.
I got to agree. I got to admit, this is another one of those cases where I'm going by the vibes a lot. But Louisville after those doldrum years with Kenny Payne, I just really think that this is a good year for them. I love the transfer portal additions they've made. I think that they returned enough guys, including the guy who I thought was most important, Javon Hadley. I really love Michael Brown Jr. I think he's going to explode. Love Ryan Conwell, of course. I remember him from the Indiana State days. Isaac McNeely, he played for Virginia. I have nothing positive to say about Virginia. But I like Louisville here. I mean, I was worried. My biggest concern with Louisville going forward was their front court depth. And now that, they've got Kason Pryor back, Ali Khalifa, as long as they're not playing Duquesne like they did in that horrible tournament game a few years ago. I love Kenai Ruths too. I mean, I think Louisville, the vibes are at a high now for Pat Kelsey. He didn't make a cringeworthy portal video. I really enjoy the signings they've got. I think they'll be able to spread the floor very well. I mean, they're going to be shooting a lot of threes, and people are going to look at the way it ended last year, where it was you just run into a buzzsaw in Creighton as an underseeded team, and people are going to be like, well, that proves that. Yeah, but you're not going to play a veteran Creighton team like ever next season. So Louisville does have a challenging non-conference schedule. So does Duke. So we're going to find out a lot about these teams very early on. But I don't know why. I am riding the Pat Kelsey hype train here. I really love this roster. I really love the guard play. I really love the spacing. So you know what? I'm going to say that's no cap. I think Louisville, just 1 year. I don't know how you can't ever bank on sustained success anymore. Just 1 year, Louisville gets the ACC regular season tournament. We throw it out the window, but I'm going to go with Louisville to take the ACC regular season crown. That's no cap for me.
Yeah, and like we discovered in the last episode, Duke needs a center. So I mean, like or actually, like I
What?
discovered last. Do you not remember last episode? You were like, "Who, Matt? You know who needs a center?" And I go, "Duke."
No, no, he was talking about Indiana.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
talking about Indiana, and that's when
I
you
know,
said
but
Duke, I was like, well, I guess Ryan doesn't
wait,
know ball.
but we discovered though. I'm just kidding. Um, But no, I'm obviously super excited about this Louisville basketball season. I haven't really been excited about basketball season. Like I was excited about last year, but I didn't know what to expect. But this year, I kind of know it kind of know what to expect, even though we have new players. So I'm very excited, and it's definitely a different feeling. But there was a guy that Louisville was going after. His name is Taylor Kinney, who ended up committing to the next school we're about to talk about, which sucks, but uh, I think he'll be really good at Kansas. And that brings us to our next topic. And going to Matt now, Kansas is back to running the Big 12 cap or no cap.
This is arguably the question that I had the quickest answer to, and I'm going to justify it the best I can. But yeah, that's cap. That is the biggest load of cap I've ever seen right there. Kansas. Now I'm going to start with the negatives here, but Kansas, you're going to be fine. Don't kill me. I'm going to get to it. Kansas is the fourth or fifth best team in their conference right now. I look at it and I see obviously a team we're going to talk about more in depth later. Houston's your clear cut number one. Then you've got Texas Tech, a team who I think people aren't talking about enough. And I think JT Toppin may be in some player of the year conversations. Absolutely adore that guy. Then you've got BYU, who, in addition to their big recruit in AJ Dibansa, returned some guys, has some good depth. Then you've got Arizona. Tommy Lloyd has really done it the old-fashioned way, rating the high schools and getting some guys. And then you get this kind of a toss-up for me between Iowa State and Kansas for the fourth or fifth spot. Now I tend to lean Iowa State there just because I think they're returning more of their veteran presence. But Kansas, a lot of people are acting like they're just going to going to be absolutely dead. Kansas is not going to be absolutely dead, and there's two reasons why. Well, there's one reason why, and it's two words. And I think Les is going to like this.
Yeah, because
Darren Peterson.
we're on the same page there.
Darren Peterson, man, this guy is one of the few high school players I've had actually wanted to watch, and I have enjoyed watching him. I think he's probably, even with Kansas finishing, he's probably the freshman of the year. He's first team all conference. He would be player of the year if the rest of the Kansas roster was as good as Houston's or as good as what I'm seeing from these other teams. But yeah, Darren Peterson is going to have Kansas at least battling in every game this year. I think he's that good of a player, honest to God. And Flory Badinga's coming back. They've got Melvin Council. They've got Trey White, who's still playing, which
Yeah.
I thought we were done with the Trey White experience. They do have some depth to play with. I just think that Kansas, they're not the best team in the conference. They're not going to run the conference. They're not dead in the water either. In fact, if you ask me right now, the most fun conference to watch, I think, on paper is actually the Big 12. Not because it's particularly got a lot of good teams, but there are a lot of, well, that team could be good, or teams that have like one guy who's like, oh, he's playing still. Like even Kansas State, a team who's probably going to make the tournament, but you forget they've got PJ Haggerty now. The Big 12 is going to be an absolute like joy to watch, just because all these teams have like incredibly good like guards and players like that. Even teams like Arizona State have like a UW Milwaukee reunion going on, which is going to be really interesting to see. So no, Kansas won't run the conference. Kansas is probably going to get upset a few times, and they won't win the conference. But Darren Peterson is going to help deliver them to at least a fourth place finish in that conference. And I think he's obviously going to be freshman of the year. But if you ask me, this is going to come down to Houston and Texas Tech battling it out for that top spot. So that is Kansas running the Big 12 is absolute and total cap.
All right, on to less. Kansas is back to running the Big 12, cap or no cap.
Well, yet again, I agree with Matt. It's absolute cap. And I think too many people on social media in which this question was inspired are buying into the solely Darren Peterson hype. And believe me, like I'm sold on Darren Peterson. He's legit. Matt and I agree on that. But I'm not sold on Kansas as a roster. I mean, looking at them, it's hard to imagine them having much of an offensive presence outside of their two-man action of Peterson and Flory Badunga and the pick and rolls. And Bill Self himself said he was going to have to rely on Peterson more than any other freshman in the past, and that's usually doesn't bode well for a typical Kansas team. But again, the Big 12 is just absolutely loaded, like Matt talked about. Houston, BYU, Texas Tech. I mean, Arizona, a team he didn't mention, Iowa State, etc. It's just a loaded conference. And I will say this as the self-proclaimed recruiting expert on this show, this conference is absolutely loaded with, top prospect talent. Of course, you do have Darren Peterson at Kansas. You have AJ DeBansa at BYU. One of my favorite recruits in this class, Koa Pete, is at Arizona and so on and so on. But no, I mean, I think Darren Peterson is going to have to do a little too much for Kansas to be a complete unit out there. And like Matt said, the Big 12 is one of the best conferences in college basketball. So, yeah, I think the social media fans that inspired this topic are, got their blinders on. They're too blinded by the hype around Darren Peterson. And yes, that hype around him specifically is legit. The hype around Kansas is not.
Yep, and speaking of Kansas, that it makes us talk about an experienced coach, and so I would first of all I would agree with you all, but talking about Kansas, we're talking about one experienced coach, and that brings us into the next topic about two more experienced coaches. I'm starting with Les this time. Neither St. John's nor UConn will win the Big East, cap or no cap.
Well, this is my shortest answer that I have, but this is absolute cap. I can literally not sit on this podcast and say that St. John's has 2009 North Carolina potential and just not pick them. That's blasphemous. I mean, that's all I have to say about that.
I'm going to be a little more longer winded than Les, but yeah, that's total cap. That is total cap. Remember what I said about the Big 12 being the most fun conference to watch? Yeah, the Big East is probably going to be like the least fun conference to watch because you look at their rosters. You've got the incredibly talented UConn. You've got the incredibly talented St. John's. Then your next best team is rebuilding Creighton. I know they got Josh Dix and Owen Freeman from Iowa. I know they've got a really good
Yeah.
transfer, Nick Graves from Charlotte. Oh, for God's sake! But you lose Ryan Kalkbrenner, you lose Stephen Ashworth. Creighton is probably a tournament team, no doubt about it. But that's your third best team, and then the tiers just keep getting weirder from there. There are a lot of interesting transfers in there, but a lot of these teams have just lost way too much in the Big East, or have a new coach, or in the case of Xavier, lost their coach, and now they're, kind of treading water right now. Even the appearance of my guy, all right, on one of these rosters is not enough to make me, swing on the Big East. But I mean,
Not going to make you all right.
no, it's not going to make me feel all right about the Big East. I mean, it's a two-horse race. Which horse wins the race, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I think Rick Pitino addressed a lot of the issues that caused St. John to get bounced by Arkansas. But you never know. You never know. St. John's kind of does what Indiana did for the last couple of years and sucks the shooting out of people. So we're gonna have to see how that goes. So yeah, it's a two-horse race. It's cap to think that and that's not to insult these other teams, but there's a lot of rebuilding happening in the Big East right now. They've probably got about four, maybe five tournament squads, a lot on the bubble, and a lot of what are we doing here? What's going to happen? Which means there's more potential for someone like a Butler with Thad Matta to come out of nowhere and surprise us all because it's always the ones you least suspect. But right now, I mean, it on paper it's a two-horse race. It's UConn, St. John's. Every time they meet, it's going to be a heavyweight brawl. All those other games, like I said, nah, they'll be competitive, but it's just not the same. So that is total cap to me.
I will share real quick. Going back to Kansas real quick, Southern Indiana's own Brooklyn Wren, who is related to Trey Kaufman Wren, committed to Kansas. So shout out her.
Bill
Is
Self's
Southern.
on a recruiting heater right now.
I know he just got first ever girl. But no, I'm just kidding. Women's basketball, obviously.
Well, no, I wanted to point that out because he's literally landed Tay Kenny, and just the Kansas made me think of it. I
Yeah,
know Brooklyn Wren's on the women's
I know.
team,
I'm
but
just kidding.
yeah. No, I just wanted to make
I
that
was just
clear so
joking.
the fans didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but so in since it's in football season technically right now, some former players are coaching some mid majors, and so that's been some of the story. Well, on to basketball. Mike Bibby is now coaching for Sacramento State. So I will start with Matt. I think Sacramento State is the mid major to watch out for this year, cap or no cap.
I love all my mid majors. You all know that. Anyone who watches the show knows that. But if I had to say Sacramento State over some of the teams I'm going to mention, I'm going to say that is cap. That is some big cap there. I will, I don't want to take up the whole rest of the time we're on the air talking about this. I'm going to mention two teams real quick. First, it's the 250th anniversary of the United States. Why not go with a team like George Washington out of the A10? They are going to be a lot of fun. They've got their fourth year head coach, Chris Caputo. Luke Hunger coming over from Northwestern, I think is going to be a big impact player. I think that they've got enough shooting and a good enough roster to really surprise some people. So, why not in the 250th year of the United States have the school named after our president come out of nowhere and just be very, very, very good? And I've lost my notes app has crashed, is why I'm kind of struggling here. I had a whole little spiel written out, but it's gone now. So we're going to move on to the next team, which is the Missouri Valley. Guys know I watch the Missouri Valley tournament every damn year. There are two teams in there that I really like. First one, Illinois State, kept their two best guys, held off a lot of the vultures in the portal. Second one, Iowa State. Northern Iowa. We all remember Ali Faroukmanesh in that great run. Um, but this year's a little bit different. They've kept over 70% of their minutes from last year. And they've got a guy named Ben Schweiger, who I think is going to be a breakout player. And finally, because there's always one of these teams that seems to do it, I'm going to go with Columbia as this year's Ivy League champion. I wasn't sold on it until I read an article. This guy's a disciple of Kyle Golden, the coach there. I think that they're going to be one of those teams that's surprisingly good. Maybe he does that Ivy League thing and pulls like the tournament upset. So those are three teams that I like a little bit more than Sacramento State to make a big impact.
On to less, cap or no cap.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to start rolling through these questions because we just hit the 10-minute mark. But this is absolutely no cap to me, and I don't even care whether Sacramento State is going to be good or not this year. I mean, Mike Bibby is your head coach, Shaq is your basketball GM, Mikey Williams comes in, Shaq's other son comes in. The narratives are basically going to write themselves. And this is former sports writer Les talking, not basketball fan Les talking. I mean, this is basically a sports writer's wet dream, is all I got to say. Whether they're good or not, they're going to be talked about throughout the year.
Now I will hurry up and go to the next topic. A team that was so close last year, but just a little off. Houston is rightfully preseason number one. Back to you, Les. Cap or no cap?
That's cap. And look, I get they just came off the national championship appearance. Yes, Milos Uzan and Emmanuel Sharp came back. Yes, they have a top three recruiting class on paper. but I'm not convinced that. Sorry, I forgot to put the cap on. But I'm not convinced that this recruiting class is all it's cracked up to be. And in particularly, Chris Sinak Jr. being their projected starting center. He's got all the skill in the world, but it's a major red flag when you watch him play harder in an all-star game than in a tournament that your team could win a national championship. I just see him being too much of a me, not we type player, and I don't know how that'll clash with Coach Sampson.
I'm gonna say that that is no cap because I don't think the guy let's talk about is even gonna start. I think they're gonna start two forwards. Oh wait, Sanak is listed as a forward here. Well, fudge. Anyway, I don't watch those recruiting tournaments. I don't know how that's going to go. I know Kelvin Sampson is a good coach, and I think that any issue he has will hopefully get straightened out. And when you've got a veteran team like that with Milos Uzan, Emmanuel Sharp, and Joseph Tugler, I think if you have an attitude problem, you're going to learn very quickly.
You gonna
Also,
learn
really big,
today.
also really big on the addition of Khalifa Sacco from Sam Houston State, another really good forward who I had the pleasure of watching. I think it's justified. I love the way Kellen Sampson coaches his team. Love their defense. These infusions of freshmen, I think, will help. It's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to go with no cap. Houston has earned that right.
You know what's popular now? Coaching changes. Coaching changes are very popular, and we can't, have an episode without shouting out Will Wade. But next is on to Matt. Back to Matt. Coaching changes add a new level of parity to college basketball. Cap or no cap?
I'm going to say that that's. I'm not sure what the question was actually looking for, but I'm going to say that's no cap, simply because, and it's not even the coach's fault here. When you look at the way coaches are now, after you get the buyout, you get that mass movement of players from place to place. I think it helps parity because, like I said, guys from McNeese State are now on the roster of NC State who are very good, in addition to the guys that NC State can afford. And eventually, you spread it all out, spread the wealth across teams. I think it's no cap. I think it does help the parity just because of the way it causes players to move in the portal and across the college basketball landscape. So, yeah, I'm going to say that's no cap.
On to you, Les. Cap or no cap?
I agree. This is no cap. 60 coaches took new jobs this year more than any other offseason. And yeah, with all those moving pieces, it's hard to imagine there not being much parity, especially in the parity that already exists in the college basketball era we are in with NIL and the transfer portal. So yeah, when 60 coaches are moving places, there's going to be parity added.
With the previous national championship winner being an SEC team, on to Les. The SEC is still the best conference, cap or no cap.
I'm going to say cap for this, and that doesn't mean that I don't think the SEC is still a very good conference. I think with Bruce Pearl retiring from Auburn, that makes them take enough of a hit to where I think there's really a legitimate argument for other conferences. Other conferences are pretty deep. I mean, there is the Big 12. I mean, there is other conferences. I think it opens up the conversation more. I might go with a hot take here. Not really so much of a hot take, but I just want to shout out the ACC in particular. I think after a down year last year, several new coaching changes, none bigger than our favorite Will Wade takeover. I think the ACC is back this year. So more than anything, I just think there are too many conferences that are competitive to where it's just like one conference that is head and shoulders above the rest.
I'm going to say that this is no cap, actually, because, I really wanted to say the Big Ten. I really did. Or I wanted to say the Big 12. I really did. And then I looked at it, and I kept coming back to one thing. The SEC has, like, two teams that people think are going to be, like, pretty bad. One is LSU, the other one is South Carolina. And I think about it, LSU has Dan Thomas, who's one of like the best transfers I think in the last year's class. South Carolina still has Michi Johnson. I mean, if they had Eagle staff, it would be interesting too. But he's unfortunately moved on very quickly. So when I look at that, and I think those are your two worst teams. They have players like that. It's hard for me to go against a conference that's that deep. And I mean, I know what Les said about the coaches, but it feels like every time you look at that too, you look back and you're like, oh, Jeff Byington's pretty good. Vanderbilt's actually competitive. So I think it's actually the SEC. I really actually do. I just feel like every team, even the ones that we expect to be bad, have have unusual levels of talent thanks to the portal and the money that those schools are able to throw out partially because of their football program. So I'm going to say no cap on the SEC being the best one, just because I see star players everywhere. I do, I really do. And in basketball, any given night.
Last episode I was talking about a coaching hire, and I kept saying that a guy might not be hired because he is too old now. He was 60 years old. So that kind of brings us into the next one. Even though there's guys still winning at a level where they are older coaches like Kelvin Sampson, Rick Pitino, John Calipari, we are going back to Matt. When it comes to coaching, it is officially a young man's game, cap or no cap.
I'm going to say that that's cap, but not for the reason people are thinking. I think that, guys like Les Nine, the other hoop heads, we're kind of seeing now just like the end of an era. And I don't know if it was caused exactly by NIL, because that could be like the crux of the argument of it's a young man's game now. But I also think that we're just seeing like dudes naturally age out of coaching too. I mean, the age of John Calipari and Rick Pitino isn't going to last forever. And a guy like Rick Pitino has adapted to the new era. I think we're just kind of seeing the natural progression of things towards younger guys. So I think that's just how it is. I'm going to say that that's cap. I think it's more so, Father Time being undefeated than anything else.
On to you, Les. Is it officially a young man's game, cap or no cap?
I say no cap on this, and I disagree with Matt, but from the other end of the spectrum, I think it's because our childhood coaches are mostly gone. Coach K, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, Tony Bennett, and now Bruce Pearl are all retired. And, who knows how long the likes of Rick Pitino, Tom Izzo, John Calipari, and Rick Barnes have left. We just saw Todd Golden win a championship. John Shire is killing it at Duke, and others like Wes Miller and Will Wade. I mean, the future is now, old man, essentially. So yeah, I don't think it's a matter of like the old heads not adapting to the current state of college basketball. I just think that there is a new wave of young coaches that are here to take over college basketball.
Yep, and that will officially round out the cap or no cap episode. It was a lot of fun, and Les, I will let you say the line just before we leave because you know it better than me.
Say the
As
line.
always, like and subscribe to the Less is More Sports YouTube and Spotify channels to get the latest updates on new content coming out. Be sure to follow the social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Threads. That's at Less is More Sports. Be sure to follow the side quest on TikTok. That's at BeansAt018. And let us know in the comments how Ryan did leading the show today.
I mean, take a breath now, sir. I mean, you just spit that out. You're
I got it
extreme.
ready to go. I've said it too many times.
That's
Also,
why I let you do it.
also comment which hat was your favorite. I don't know.
Blue Mountain
Yeah,
State for sure.
and my hat counts. You can always say mine. It's got a cactus on it. It's Dub Mountain.
Ooh, we got a cactus.
Dub Mountain. Dub
Ooh.
Mountain.